Charlotte supports a number of our families to fundraise for assistance dogs, and it'd be just lovely to hear from you, Charlotte, just to talk a little bit about your work and so how you help in this area, and some of the success stories that I know you've had, because they are brilliant. You do amazing work, so we'd love to hear a bit from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, quite like Tom, I came into this really because of my son. So from a parental background of having a child with autism, I also have autism myself, and realised that actually animals are much better for us than humans. They don't judge us, they don't do parental blame, but they offer this incredible companionship that quite often individuals with autism miss out on. And there's a real misconception that people with autism don't want to be sociable and don't want to socialise, and that's often not the case. It is that there are so many struggles to get to the point of socialisation, and they can start with getting out of bed onwards, not just the actual physical meeting of another person, whereas obviously having a well-trained dog doesn't need that. So Benedict, my son, he's 15 now, and he's got autism, complex medical conditions and intellectual disabilities, but the place that he's always shone is around animals. He's done horse riding, and we then got Daisy, who's his assistance dog, who sadly hadn't been trained properly. So in the search for proper training for her, I met Kate, and we launched Supporting Paws in 2018. Initially, we were thinking we were just going to be helping families who had dogs that hadn't been trained properly, but it turned out that there was a big call for it. And so we offer a very individualised programme. We've actually extended it really through Tree of Hope to children who haven't just got autism but neurodevelopmental conditions. And in the pipeline, we've got some children who've got chromosome abnormalities as well. So it's quite a steep learning curve for us. But the fundamental challenges that are faced by these children tend to be very similar. So during the application process, we assess every family individually. We meet up with them and with at least one of our dogs, and we discuss with that family what do they think the dog will give them, and we want them to have, obviously, hope that the dog will help, but realise it's not going to be a magic wand, it's not going to be a cure. So sometimes we're having to keep them realistic, but often we're working with them to find out things that are a daily challenge for that child and their family, and how can a dog help with that. There tends to be, everyone thinks assistance dogs are outside, you know, in the community, absolutely, and they have a fantastic role there, and they are trained in public access tests as you would any other disability dog. But we also train them in helping with interventions in the household, and that can be anything from a child's, when they come in from school, they might be anxious, finding some games that are quite good for their sensory processing, sequencing, all of that side of things, to help to reduce their anxiety. Sometimes the dog is somebody that child can actually open their hearts to and speak to. I know we found that with Benedict, that sometimes we'd hear him with Daisy, and he would just be saying what was bothering him, and that was really useful because we didn't have to ask, we could just try and maybe put that right for him. Not all the time did that work, but sometimes it did. The dogs are also trained to go to medical appointments, so quite a few of the children that we work with have comorbid conditions that will require them going into hospitals or to CAMS appointments, and having that dog there as the constant companion, we find, is really beneficial to them. And as Jill said, we've worked with a number of families in our short time, and we've had lots of really heart-rending successes. We've had children with high functioning autism who have been able to reduce their anxieties. We received a photograph the other day of a young person who was playing a board game with their family. Now, to the outside world, that might not seem anything, but to that family, it was huge. We've had children who have maybe never shown any emotion before, who are suddenly laughing and playing and interacting with their dog. And the next stage to that is obviously that they then bring in another person to interact with. So suddenly that child is learning that interaction can be a real positive. We've got a young girl at the moment who's got very complex needs, and her dog is actually being trained obviously residentially with us, but is going for lots and lots of visits. Between them, the girl and her dog, they have created a game which unusually involves him barking, which normally assistance dogs don't do, but she can't see, she's severely visually impaired, and that dog barking results in her laughing, and they have this fantastic game that they play every time they get in the car. How long the parents will think it's a great game remains to be seen, and they just laugh, and it's just incredible to see the difference that they do. And quite often dogs are filling the gaps. I don't agree with this, but they're filling the gaps where the services let families down. All too often we are, like Tom was saying, we're dealing with families who are at the end of their tether, who have been let down by schools, by the local authorities, by CAMS, by physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and they don't know what to do. But actually the dog, it doesn't actually do everything that, you know, that all of those services do, but it brings unity to a family. Often it's a positive where you've got neurotypical siblings in that family who can feel very pushed out because of the needs of one child. They feel, oh, you know, it's all about them. Those siblings we will always incorporate into the training program and ensure that they have a dog, they have a job to do with the dog. We have a dog at the moment with us that's in training, and the child that he works with, again, very, very severe, complex needs, not just the autism. The sibling who's older is fantastic with the brother, but we want him to feel included. So he's actually going to do some of our handler training, so that if the child that has the disability needs a lot of help whilst out and about, the sibling will be able to take responsibility and keep the dog safe and keep himself safe, so the parents can focus on their disabled child and know that their neurotypical child is safe and well. And we don't send our dogs into school, which is a big question we're always asked. Can the dog go to school? In a nutshell, the answer is no, for many reasons. Primarily, we know that the families that we've assessed, the children are safe with dogs and are well behaved around dogs and like dogs. We can't guarantee that for everybody. We also can't guarantee that there won't be a child that's got a severe allergy to animals, and if, you know, a child gets used to going into school with their dog every day, obviously the routine break, and suddenly, no, we're not going to, that dog can't come in because the other child's got an allergy, wouldn't be helpful at all. And also the time, so if a child's got one-to-one support, that one-to-one needs to be with the child, not, oh, the dog needs to go to the toilet, or the dog needs a bit of a break now. So they don't go into school. However, there are one of the families, a Tree of Hope family that we worked with last year, we are still doing ongoing training with them in the hope that when that child does her GCSEs, the dog will be able to go in, because she will be doing them in a room on her own with comfort breaks for herself and movement breaks. So it would be appropriate then for her to have that dog with her to keep her calm. And likewise, we've got some children coming up that have occupational therapy in school, and those occupational therapists are working with us, telling us what they want us to get the dog to help them with, so those dogs will go in for those sessions. And I think that's really about it.
Oh, thank you, Charlotte. I mean, that is an amazing overview of the work that you do. And I know, as we said, we've supported many families. And I think one of the things that is always asked is, can we just train the family dog? And you know, why can't we? And why does it cost so much to train an assistance dog? I wonder if you could just talk a little bit around those subjects about cost and why you can't just train the family pet.
Yeah.